Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Perfectly Holistic, and we are excited to bring you guys another really cool topic tonight. And welcome, Dr. Barry Sands, back with us for another talk about energy, frequency, and vibration. So, yeah, we have a passion about this aspect of health and wellness that not many people talk about, but we think it's important. So, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's always fun to be here. And, as you know, the topic of energy, frequency, vibration is such an important topic. And you're right, it's not really spoken about in sort of a everyday conversation, but I wish it was, because that's really the essence of where things start, how things change, and how you heal on the foundational levels. So,
I agree completely. And if we brought this component to wellness with our doctors and our vets and, whatever type of healing that you need, if we can just remember to bring in the emotional and the spiritual side of things, it's like a three sides of the triangle. They do really well focusing on the physical, but they leave the other two components, which are super important. And
yeah.
it's all connected. So if we can get all three sides of the triangle in harmony and synchronization, it might really help speed up the healing process a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because as we know that when we get sick, when our animals get sick, there's always the physiology that gets affected,
Mhm.
right? There's the biochemistry that gets affected, and then there's the emotional and the mental state that gets affected. And a lot of times, it's what's driving the discourse
Yes.
is the emotion around it, the mental angst, the anxiety, the stress, that even precipitates the disease. And so, doctors will say, oh, it's just stress, or stress caused this, but yet they don't give you any tools to de-stress,
Yes.
and to manage that. And we know that, our animals pick up on all of our stress and our emotional states, whether it's elevated or not, it doesn't matter what it is, they'll pick it up, and they take that on in their own personal physiology. And so, our topic today is to teach a little bit about how to self-regulate, how to have self-mastery of your emotional landscape, of your physiology, through managing your thoughts and your emotions, and how that affects your pet, or your animal companion, the one who loves you the most, and you probably love them the most.
Right. Exactly. So our topic is heart coherence, and I would love to know, for all of you guys watching, put a one in the comments if you have heard of heart coherence, if you know what that is. And if you don't, put a two, because I think it would be really interesting just to kind of get an idea of our viewers, whether you're watching this now live or if you're watching the replay. It's just going to be interesting for us to go back and see how many people know what this is versus don't know what this is. So I think it's fascinating. And I think after you listen to what Barry has to share with us tonight, and we can actually experience and learn how to do this, you won't forget what heart coherence is. You will know what it is. And you
Yeah. Yeah, or
so
at least, have a sense, an idea, a beginning, getting your feet wet in it, because it's, I've been doing this for many, many years. And it's, at first it wasn't, that easy for me to be able to understand it enough that I can explain it in a way that is so simple, because it is quite simple,
yes.
but it's like saying all you need is love. And that falls short on the essence and the deep gravity that statement holds,
Mhm.
right? Because people have a lot of different versions of what that means, or understanding of what that means, and they're like, oh yeah, all I need is love, but what does that mean?
It's
And
kind
how
of over the head. You just kind of, oh, nice cliche.
yeah, it kind of becomes airy fairy and very, esoteric, but there is a deep resonant frequency that emotion holds, that is curative, and all encompassing and all healing, as a frequency. And so when we really understand the essence of that, then it takes on a different meaning,
Mhm.
and a different importance and understanding about that.
Yeah.
And, so talking about heart coherence, where do you start? There's always, it feels like to me, a circle of information, and you could literally start on any point. But I think we should just start and do a deep dive, into what that actually means for us, the definitions, and then we'll do an exercise to show, people can actually do it with us,
Yeah.
see what it feels like. So, I learned about this through the Heart Math Institute. You can get a lot more information to augment this at heartmath.org. And they have a lot of research, white papers, videos, and just explain it in, many, many other ways.
Mhm.
Really helpful. They also have tools and little apps that you can purchase to keep practicing, if your physiology is in coherence. But I'm going to sort of circle back I'm going to just talk kind of circularly, I think.
Go
Yeah.
for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So the what heart coherence actually means, when your body is in a coherent state, it means that your systems of your heart, the rhythms, the pumping, the sound, the frequencies, and your brain are in an energetic alignment and a
Mhm.
synchronization and an entrainment. And I'll explain what all that means. And when that happens, when your brain is speaking the same language as the heart, which is a universal language, the heart is a very unified sort of energy frequency, as
Yes.
opposed to the brain, which has two hemispheres, and it is more of a dualistic polarity structure,
Mhm.
left brain, right brain, and you go back and forth. You think about pros and cons, and this and that, and left and right, and yes and no, and good and bad, and all of that. And so the brain is constantly, the two hemispheres are doing something different.
Mhm.
And what the heart wants to do is get the brain to unify, and everybody talks the same thing. So the left and the right hemispheres are now together as one in the same conversation as the heart.
Mhm.
And you can actually see what that looks like when you do these brain map scans, where the energy is flowing. And when the brain, when there's like one solid thought process and one energetic unification of the brain, it will light up like the whole thing in one color,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
as opposed to like all these different colors all over the place,
Mhm.
signifying different pathways that are firing, like everything's firing together,
Oh, wow.
one thing. And then when that happens, the heart is naturally in that state. And so now the brain and the heart are speaking the same conversation, which is the conversation of the heart. And the heart is the seat of our intuition, and it's the seat of our knowing and our deep, deep knowledge of things. It's the wisdom keeper. And so, in order to get connected to our deep intuitive states, you have to be in coherence. You have to be in alignment with that, because then you have a knowing, and then you can act from that place. And
Mhm.
physiologically, it's not difficult to do. And so that leads me into talking about the entrainment and how we entrain with our animals, right? Because we're talking about ourselves and we're also talking about our pets. And so when you're with your cat or your dog, or a bunch of cats, if you have lots of them, or lots of dogs, and you want to um, send your vibes out to them in a very smooth, energetic, coherent way, where you are in a deep state of um, higher vibrations such as love, care, gratitude, kindness, tolerance, like those kind of emotions are coming out through you. They're coming through you're emitting an electromagnetic field from your body as a
Yes.
signature that gets interfaced with your animal. And when your animal feels, when you put that out there strong enough, then your animal system is going to vibrate like that. And when you guys are both in the same vibratory state, or in what we call resonance, that's called entrainment. Like, but the two of you are now kind of linked and connected.
Excuse me.
God bless you. Right? That's an African. Yes.
Okay, back to where we were.
Yeah, that's a sneeze of affirmation. It's like, yes, the entrainment is where we want to be, in that higher vibratory state, because that's where the healing happens between us and our pets.
And can you talk about that quantum entanglement? Because that's what you're referring to, like that energy that we're putting out, and that's why they can feel that, right? And that's why they pick up on that, because that's what we're sending into our sphere of energy.
Right. So it's called a biofield. We call it a biofield, an electromagnetic biofield. And so our bodies are made up of flesh, blood, bones, organs, tissues, sinews, fascia, vessels, blood vessels, nerve tissue, spinal tissue, right? And then you go smaller, and all of that's made out of cells. And all those cells are made out of atoms. And all those atoms are made out of subatomic particles, right? You're getting super small. And so you now have an electron and a proton. And these things in the atom are always spinning. They're always spinning. Everything is in your body spinning and vibrating. Everything in the universe vibrates. And everything vibrates at its own frequency. Everything, it's all different, right? It's like a harmony and a symphony inside of our bodies. However, when a proton and an electron are spinning around each other, constantly moving, they create a magnetic field, right? When an electron moves, an electron is a negative charge, a proton is a positive charge. And when two negative and positive charges are always moving around each other, they create a magnetic field.
Yes.
So think about if we have, a trillion, gazillion, gazillion atoms in our body, like we're 50 trillion cells, and there's like, a quadrillion atoms, and they're all creating magnetic fields. The heart is the greatest emitter of a magnetic field in the body. And this magnetic field has been measured. It's measurable, and it can go out, at least with our technology, up to 9 feet out from our bodies. And some say it can go like 50 feet out. I mean, to infinity too. But measurably, with our magnetometers, it comes out to about 9 feet.
Wow.
And so this field that we emit from our heart carries, it's sort of like the carrier of the frequencies of the emotions that we emit. And when we are feeling higher vibrational emotions like love and gratitude, awe, appreciation, joy, care, tolerance, courage, those kind of things, the waveform that comes out of our bodies is actually quite smooth. Like a nice little waveform. And when we're in vibrations of like lower states of emotional discourse, like anxiety, fear, anger, judgment, intolerance, hate, frustration, and depression, those waveforms are actually kind of jagged and very distorted looking. And the Heart Math Institute has actually kind of measured that. And they measure that through what's called heart rate variability. And it gets hooked up, you get hooked up to a machine, and the little algorithms will show you what it looks like to be, frustrated versus in appreciation. It's
Yeah.
completely different.
Wow. That would be so cool to see, like on paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Well, I have like slides from other lectures that
yeah,
show like what it looks like.
yeah.
We
No,
don't,
I mean, you don't have to show it, but I was just thinking for a visual, for those of us who are super visual, to see
yeah.
that, like what it looks like on a screen or, whatever on a paper or whatever, it would be really, really fascinating to go,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's not just theoretical. It's like I can see it with my eyes.
Right, right. And when you get into a coherent state, because when you're in these states of, anxiety or frustration or, angst, irritability and things like that,
Mhm.
your body systems are all in a discourse.
Yeah.
Like, your heart rate's beating at a certain pace, your respirations are at a certain rhythm, your skin temperature's changing, you may be sweating, like all sorts of things are happening. Your brain is racing, like you're like, ah,
Yeah.
right? And that gets emoted out or felt, it gets put into the field. That's in the field. And that's why people can sense why other people are just like, whoa, are you okay?
Yeah. Or you're having a bad day. I'm going to stay away from you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Or if they're like radiating this amazingness, you just feel like you're attracted to them. You
Mhm.
just want to be next to them because just being next to them makes you feel better.
Right. Right.
Right.
Our
And
energy.
animals feel the same exact way.
Yeah.
They just want to be next to you because it feels better.
Yeah. They like your energy field.
They like your energy field, as opposed to like you're all not okay, and they feel that, again, I mean, we've talked about that many times. The cats poofing up when they see you, or you come home and they vomit, like something happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, getting into a state of coherence as opposed to incoherent will align your heart physiology rhythms with your brain wavelengths, and your breathing is always a part of this to do that. And then everything kind of changes, where the rhythms of your heart, your brain, and your respirations will entrain, meaning that everything now is one.
Yeah.
And there's a harmony and a synchronicity and an alignment. And when that happens in your body, all the other systems come in alignment. Your hormones, your endocrine systems, your sympathetic system and parasympathetic system. The very first thing that it does is that it slows down the parasympathetic
Yeah.
system, which is your fight or flight. That system gets dialed down, and your parasympathetic comes up online. And because of that, all the other systems, your GI tract, the blood flow to your muscles, your spleen, your digestion, like all of that is better.
Yeah.
And healing. And so that's one of the ways that we could create this kind of global healing within ourselves, to start, even starting the day in a state like that. And then once we learn how to get into a coherent state, it actually changes your stress thresholds, where now it actually physiologically lowers the threshold of where your stress response is. So then you just stop overreacting, naturally, because you learn how to go into a place where you are now responding to events and situations as opposed to reacting to them.
Yeah.
And the whole techniques of coherence is really meant to be done like in a moment of of a crisis. It's not one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm gonna it's fine to meditate. People like meditation is good, but you don't have to, set the music, set the candles, put the incense, get it all comfy, get into your position, and then start to breathe. That's one way of relaxing, but to train people to be in a coherent state is really managing your physiology moment by moment, and to be able to offset those little traumas that you have in your life,
Yes.
and those events, so that you can avert crisis.
Yes. And have that gap between response or reacting to whatever situation. It's that gap between, like, the minute something happens is where you can decide, am I going to react or am I going to breathe and respond, right? So yeah, I think the more practice you have, the easier that gets, right?
It becomes second nature.
Yeah.
It becomes like your go-to mechanism, just like anything else. The more you practice,
Yeah.
the more you're able to do that in a moment's notice. So that if you're in traffic and you're all, you just had a bad day at work and you're driving and then someone cut you off, and you're like, you get that feeling. You
Mhm.
don't, you won't, that won't happen. Like you'll like, oh, this guy cut me off. I wonder if he's in a rush too, or I wonder if he had a bad day, or
Yeah.
maybe we should go get a drink. You just see it differently. And then you know, when you have a different perspective about an event, the event becomes just an event.
Right.
It's like saying, things happen for us, not to us.
Right. Right.
And I, in my personal opinion, I think every sort of seemingly, traumatic situation is always an opportunity, to really learn how to show up in a different way, and to, do a deep dive into, what am I really feeling? Why am I being triggered?
Yeah.
And how can I feel better about this situation?
Or at least not be reactive about it. Like, how can it be just neutral in some cases instead of flying off the handle or getting angry or, getting frustrated or whatever? I think it's human to experience those things, but if they become more of a pattern and you're just kind of, it's not solving your or helping your situation, you do have to learn how to cope a different way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the essence of self-mastery,
Yeah.
really knowing how to navigate through your emotional landscape, so that when you are confronted with a situation or an event, or something that is stressful, you react differently.
Mhm.
You're responding now, and that is going to have a very profound impact on the animals that you live with. you know and because of the entrainment and the biofield entanglement that we have, we can actually radiate our good vibes, or that coherent state, or that love energy into our pets,
Yeah.
and envelop them with that, and they're going to sense that, and that's going to help with the healing. I mean, that's kind of like what Reiki is about. When you're just using your hands
Mhm.
and your intention, on your animal, like what do you think's happening with your hands? What's coming out is that energy that's being directed, you
Yep.
know, from you, from a loving place,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that loving place, because you're a conduit now for love to flow through. And
Mhm.
you can only do that if you are in a coherent state,
Yeah.
right? Because people that channel energy and then push it somewhere else, if your body is in a physiological discourse, then what happens is that the energy that's coming in is being diluted, and it's being transformed, and then you may be putting out maybe 10% of that loving frequency that you're pulling in from source, as opposed to like 100%
Mhm.
of that. That's what we call in healing practices, we call it being a hollow bone. That's the sort of indigenous shamanic word for being an empty vessel to just allow energy to flow through. And you can only be in that hollow bone state if you get into that state of coherence.
That's true. That's amazing. It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that's pretty much that in a nutshell.
Simplified and broken down. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you have, if anyone has any questions or anything, but
I
we
don't
could
see any questions yet, but if you guys are watching and if you do have questions, go ahead and drop them down here in the comments. You can comment on our YouTube platform or the Facebook platform. We can't see the comments on Instagram, but so if you want to drop a comment, come on over to one of those other two platform options. So yeah, let us know if you do have questions as we go through this. We're happy.
Yeah, and there's no stupid question,
right.
when it comes to that. And a lot of times, the information is so new that you just don't really know what to ask, because you're just kind of taking it all in, and that's great. That's great too. Just to kind of to take that in, and I don't know if you want to do a little coherent little meditation for like a couple of minutes. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
The essence of that is really to focus on the area of your heart space and using your breath to start the process to slow down your sympathetic tone and increase your parasympathetic, vagal response.
Mm-hmm.
And then to recall or really to generate an emotional or feeling of gratitude or care, love, those kind of things. But what I find a lot of people say, well, I don't know what to think of. I don't really feel that right now. I can't find the feeling, especially in the moment when you're angry. You can't find the feeling of love and gratitude when you're in the middle of a fight with someone.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So what I like to do is have find a memory. Everyone has a memory or a time that they have had something amazing happen to them, and you were, filled with either the love or awe or joy or just something incredibly amazing. So find that memory and, pick maybe 2 or 3 in a memory bank, and then when you're in the practice of training to be coherent, and we're asking you to, feel that sense of love, gratitude, care, appreciation, remember that moment, relive that memory, and what it felt like you're reliving that memory, and then your body will respond that way, because the body doesn't know the difference between something that happened to it or something that you're thinking about. Right. It doesn't have any discernment. It's your thought is going to be that just as powerful as actually doing it. And for every, thought that we have like 1,500 different biochemicals that are secreted in our system that match that thought and that emotion. Right? And so our physiology, our neuropeptides, everything, that are just raining in our system to try to match that thought and that emotion. And then your body is flooded with those things. And so that's how your physiology will change.
Yes. And I had a friend of mine tell me recently to surrender into that thought. Like, really let yourself be there again. Feel, and don't close yourself off. Because I was working on some personal stuff myself, and was having a hard time connecting. And I was walking through a guided meditation doing something, and he was asking, where do we feel any resistance, and if so, where? And I was identifying through the chakras, and I could tell I had a block here, and I had a block here, and I had a block in my solar plexus, and I was like, I wonder why those are there. So that's a whole nother story. But so learning how to surrender, and if you notice like resistance, like you're not allowing yourself to feel into that again, and feel that gratitude or that joy or that moment of awe or that moment of just peace, and just, high bliss, whatever that memory is. It can take a little bit of practice and figure out why you're not allowing yourself to go there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, I invite people to pick a memory. Like for me, one of my go-to memories is when I was in Bimini, in the Bahamas, and I was swimming with dolphins.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool.
And there was a moment in time where, it was a beautiful sunny day. The water is so warm. It's like a bathtub. It was just like there was nothing shocking your system. You just kind of got
Yeah,
into the water.
yeah.
And, it was so quiet and peaceful, and it felt so safe. And these dolphins would just swim around us, and they were so curious. And there was this one dolphin that came up to me, and he stopped right in front of my nose.
Oh
And it was perfect because I was like using my snorkel to breathe. So I was kind of like not far from the surface.
yeah.
And so was this dolphin. So I didn't have to, like, I don't know, we were nose to nose.
Oh,
And I was like, what do I do? Like, what are we doing? Are we kissing? Should I kiss you? It's like- and I just it felt like time stopped for me.
yeah,
And it might have been a few moments. I don't even know. It felt like a really long time that we were together. And like I was in this weird time dilation moment, and we would just lock nose to nose. And I just felt this beautiful energy that was flowing into me and it felt like joy. It was just like love and joy, love and joy.
yeah,
And so whenever I'm like trying to, do go into my coherence, state, and I need a memory, that's one of the first ones I pick up,
yeah,
and I go into that, the whole thing, the way the water felt, the warmth of the water, the buoyancy of my body, the sounds that I heard, the little clicking in the fizzling that you hear inside the ocean, and then the distant clicks that the other dolphins were making as they're speaking, and then the connection, the sensation of my nose against his little nose. And
mm,
so you just, the whole thing, and you just relive it. And then, like, even now, like, as I'm speaking about it, I feel my body. It feels so good,
yeah,
just to talk about that. So, when you find that moment that you have felt that, and it could have been, the first time you met your kitten,
yeah,
your baby kitten. I mean, animals give us so much opportunity to just remember these moments of pure joy
yes,
and laughter. Like
yes,
animals and babies, there's so many funny things or experiences that have happened. So just, pick one thing and relive it. And that's what you're going to put into your heart space, and you're going to just breathe that in and out and in and out. um, and and then you'll find that you're in coherence. And there are apps and, like I said, measurements and tools that you can use to see how well your physiology is actually in coherence. And I can tell you that it's when you're in that space, there's this energetic alignment. Like, you can measure it, and
mhm,
it's amazing.
wow,
And the people around you feel that too. Like you can actually, HeartMath did a study where they had 4 people at a table, and they wanted to know if they could get, if when 3 people were in a state of coherence, could they energetically make the 4th person go into coherence without them even knowing it?
Mm-hmm.
Like they had no training. He just thinks that, they were just hanging out at a table, and everyone was told to close their eyes and just start to breathe. And the 3 were trained into doing that. And the 4th one was just, not. And everyone was hooked up to machines and heart rate monitors and stuff. And what they found was that, yeah, that 4th person just shifted into a coherent rhythm just by virtue of being in the vicinity of the others.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So that's how we can, help each other and, help our animals. And it's real. And all you're doing is thinking and feeling. That's all you're doing. And breathing, right?
Breathing. Yes.
And you're just thinking, good memories and feeling good feels. And that's it. That's all you're doing. And it's free.
It is.
It doesn't cost you anything. Yeah.
It can be very healing.
Very healing.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So if someone has never done this before, how would they know if they're in coherence? Do you have any insight?
Well, I mean, you can certainly get the app. You can get the app and it's like a little Bluetooth clip. You clip it on your ear and it goes onto a sensor, and you can purchase that from HeartMath. It's not very expensive. And then you could see, if your body is really in a coherent state, just so that you can learn to know. I mean, you'll feel it. You'll actually feel it. But when you measure it on an app and you can kind of see it, then you're like, oh, okay. The subtleties become more tangible. But you'll feel it. You just feel different. You'll know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay. So I'm game if you are.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's try it. Everybody who's watching, join us and let's get coherent.
All right. So I'm going to invite everybody to just get in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. And I'm going to do this with you.
Awesome.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to put our hands over our heart space, because we know that when we touch ourselves in certain places, our attention goes to where we're putting our hands. So we're going to put our hands over our heart space. And then we're going to start to breathe. We're going to breathe deeper and slower than we normally would. I recommend 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And we're going to do this for a minute. And as we're breathing in, I want you to imagine the breath flowing in and out of your heart space. And as you're breathing in and out, I want you to recall a regenerative, beautiful memory that you've had where you felt unconditional love, joy, bliss, excitement, awe, gratitude, beauty, and relive that memory. So I'm going to take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now maintain that rhythm of breath, breathing slower and deeper in a comfortable way. And as you're breathing, allow your belly to expand out with every inhale. And feel the breath as it enters your lungs, your throat, your nose. And then as you exhale, notice the breath coming from your throat to your lungs and to your belly. And just notice the breath as it's flowing in and out of your body. Now recall that memory. That beautiful place that you were. The wonderful experience that you had. Were you alone? Were you with your pet? A friend? A family member? What was the temperature like? Was it warm? Was it cold? Was it sunny? Was it rainy? Remember the smells that you smelled in that moment. Was it flowers? Was it grass? Was it the ocean? Was it food? Was it perfume? What sounds did you hear? Was there music? Was it quiet? Was there singing? Were there birds, animals? Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Stay with that memory. Feel it as if it was happening. And as you feel that beautiful sensations and those memories of the sights, the sounds, the smells, now radiate that out like a burst of beautiful golden light. And as you radiate that, imagine your beautiful animal friend around you, and maybe your animal's there with you now. And just envelop your animal friend in that golden sphere of love and light, joy and bliss. And we're going to breathe for 1 more minute. 5 seconds in. 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds out. 4, 3, 2, 1. 2, 3, 4. Out. 4, 3, 2, 1. One more breath in. 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And come back and just kind of notice how your body feels. Do you feel different? Do you feel more relaxed? Do you feel calm?
I feel so much happy, like joy and like love, that I have to tell you, right when you said maybe think about your animal, Aylin jumped in my lap.
I love that.
Right here. She's right here. Like,
Oh. Oh, she's like, give me some of that.
want some of that, Juju. Oh,
She's like, Mama, we're having a love fest.
no. Yes, we are having a love fest. Give me a baby girl. Oh, she is so my heart. Oh my goodness, come here. That was really cool. I did not expect that. All of a sudden, I felt this in my lap. I'm like, oh, of course you came. She was in the other room. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, animals are so, they're so energetically in
Yes.
tune to things, and they're so attracted to that, and they know it, they sense it. And
Yes, they do. Like
and if
my cats will come sit on me during meditation. And I'll go just curl up and go to sleep. It's so cool. Come on, baby girl, let's just cuddle.
and you could literally just do this for maybe 3 to 5 minutes a day, and just, and you could do it with your eyes closed at first, and you could start doing it with your eyes open to kind of, get the other sensations of life around you, and to, go into coherent, to get into that state. Like if you're, say you're going to respond to an email that you read, like, oh crap, I don't know, like, how am I going to write this? And then, then just do that process, take a minute, take 2 minutes, and get into that state. And then from that place, type your response, and see how that feels. Or before you go into a conversation with somebody, say you're going to make a phone call that you feel is going to be a little tricky, emotionally. And so do that technique and get into that state, and then make that phone call.
Yes.
And from that place, you'll find that you have a better sense of connection, awareness. You're able to get in touch with your intuitive self. You're less reactive. You're more responsive.
Yes.
I
was listening to one of the, I don't even know what you would call these people. Spiritual teachers, things like that. And it was on manifestation. And I think it was Louise Hay, and she was like, think about how you want to wake up in the morning and how that first energy will set the vibe for your day. So, what kind of energy do you want to attract to you throughout the day? Be mindful of how you're starting. So, how beautiful it would be to start your day before you even get out of bed and
Hmm.
3 to 5 minutes doing this exercise,
Yeah.
generating that kind of love and gratitude and peace and whatever to set the framework for what you start to attract to you throughout that day.
Yeah. I mean, I literally, I do that every morning.
It's
Every
fab.
morning before when I wake up, because and that's also actually the perfect time to do it,
Yes.
because your body is already coming up from this sort of dream, deep
Mhm.
delta, theta, alpha state.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when we are in this coherent state, our brain waves are in an alpha pattern,
Yes.
and
You're
so it's already a connection. And really, a really cool thing about our physiology, when we are in this state of heart brain alignment or coherence, the our brainwave state of alpha is the same resonant frequency as the Schumann resonance,
Mhm.
which is around the globe. It's the
Yeah.
geomagnetic sphere between the Earth and the ionosphere. That there's like a space in between that has this frequency that is about 7.83 hertz. And that's sort of that's our alpha state, right?
Mm.
So we're connecting our little bodies here on Earth are connecting to the geomagnetic Earth, right? The stratosphere.
Yes.
And also, it has the same frequency of zero point 0.1 hertz when
Mm.
when it's measured, when you're in that really deep sweet spot of coherence. And that zero point 0.1 hertz is actually the resonant frequency of the depths of the planet, of the core of the earth.
Oh, wow. So it's
So
very
when we, yeah, and when we say things like, that saying, as above, so below,
Mhm.
as within, so without,
Yes.
well, it's true. When we're in that state, we are the interface between as above, so below. And
Mhm.
our physiology is locked into that, and we're entrained with that. And that's why our, little bodies doing our energetic thing has such an effect on the field that's around us, in an entangled way where it can be felt um, in a limitless distance, and that heart math has also measured that,
Wow.
like how my physiology can affect, you know, someone that's 3,000 miles away, or
Yes.
even in another galaxy, across the universe. It is a palpable signature that you're going to put out. And it's not like no matter what you're feeling, it's going to feed the field.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
if we're sitting there in this anxiety ridden, frustrated, angry state, and there's all this discourse that's happening, that's going to be felt as well.
Yes.
So the question always, comes to mind is like, what are you feeding the field today?
Mm.
What do you want to put out there? And so doing that first thing in the morning, setting the tone for your
Yes.
day and your intention,
Mhm.
what you want to have happen, just do it. There's no downside. There's nothing to lose to
Absolutely.
and you're gonna feel better. You will feel better.
Absolutely. And Aylin will feel better too. She she's currently upside down and just purring. She's a happy girl.
Yeah, they're like, see, I told you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, baby girl. So precious. I just remember moments like this to get into heart coherence. It just warms my heart when, you know, they just melt and they just purr. That's my favorite sound in the whole world is a cat purring because they're happy. In most cases it means they're happy. So I can tell by her face she's super happy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this was so awesome. If anyone has any thoughts, let us know. if you did the exercise with us, how you feel, and if you have any questions for us before we wrap up. But any final thoughts from you? Any final tips, hot thoughts? We've covered so much. This has been fabulous.
Yeah, I would say, you can listen to it and re-listen to it. And, honestly, questions are always welcome. And, practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, like anything else,
Mm-hmm.
it will become something that's innate in you,
Yes.
and you will feel better. You'll feel different.
Mm-hmm.
And one little trick that I did while I was learning how to do this was, and every time I crossed a threshold, I would do a 1 minute coherence. That's basically breathing in and out, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out for like 6 times, and recalling that memory and doing that for a minute. And when I say a threshold, it's like a doorway. So
Yes.
anytime you go through a doorway, take 1 minute and do that. Like whether you're going in and out of the bathroom, or in and out of your house, or into your bedroom, or through your car. When you open your door and you go through the car, in and out of the car, like anytime you're crossing something, take a minute and
Mm-hmm.
just do that. And then you'll see the more you do that, the easier you'll get. And then you're going to start doing it just naturally, and that's going to be your natural state of being.
Mm-hmm. Your default.
Yeah.
Your default, which is cool.
Yeah.
And the whole world have this as their default, and it would be a totally different world, wouldn't it?
It would be a totally different world, and we're human, so it's okay. It's okay. We have lots and lots of emotions,
Yes.
and the reason, we, as human beings, because we have so many emotions, it's okay to just feel them,
Mm-hmm.
but don't get caught up in the ones that drag you down.
Yeah, don't get stuck there.
The ones that create the fear or the anxiety, or the frustration. Notice them. Notice what's triggering you to be frustrated or to be fearful, and then catch yourself and then say, okay, how can I transmute this?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know like if you're looking at a sick animal and you're having this deep sense of worry and fear, take that moment and say, wait, let me
Mm-hmm.
feel this breathing. Let me recall that feeling. Let me see, just put the love out. It's easy to love when you're in front of your pet.
Yes,
So
it really
just feel the love, remember the love, and then, see how that feels. And I promise you, you'll feel different. It will
yes,
be different.
it will. And it will be interesting to see how your pet responds.
Yes, I'd love to hear about that.
Yes. So that's your homework assignment, everyone.
Do
Do that,
it for
do
yourself.
that time, and then report back and let us know how you felt and how your
Right.
pet responded. That's what I want to know. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for doing this session with us and for teaching us about heart coherence. We will get together again soon and share some more cool stuff with you guys. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and have a great evening.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being here. Share this out, like and subscribe, send it to any pet lover that you feel would benefit from this, because the more that we can share this information, we just want to change the world, one pet parent and pet at a time. So it's really awesome. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here, and we'll see everyone again soon. And Aylin and I say good night.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, we'll see you next time.